Have you ever thought about a book not just as pages and ink, but as a kind of shield? A shield defending truth.
That's a great way to put it.
Well, today we're doing a deep dive into exactly that kind of book, Lying About Hitler by the historian Richard J. Evans.
A really significant work.
Absolutely. And this isn't, your standard history discussion. It's more like getting a front row seat to this incredible courtroom drama.
Right, where historical truth itself was essentially put on trial.
Exactly. So our mission today is to unpack how painstaking research, solid evidence, and frankly, a lot of courage stood up against deliberate historical distortion.
And why this whole story is, maybe now more than ever, so important.
So join us as we explore this critical fight for historical integrity. It's a battle still relevant today.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's set the scene. If we rewind to the 1990s, that's really where this story ignites.
Yeah.
You have Deborah Lipstadt, a historian. She just published this really powerful book exposing Holocaust denial.
A brave thing to do.
Very. And in it, she did something incredibly direct. She named David Irving, a British writer who presented himself as a serious WWII historian, as a dangerous Holocaust denier.
Just flat out called him out.
Flat out. And, well, you can probably guess the reaction.
Oh, yeah. Irving didn't take that lightly.
He sued her for libel.
Right. Not just anywhere, though. He sued her in London.
Which had specific legal implications, particularly around libel law at the time.
And the really profound thing here, the chilling thing, is suddenly the Holocaust.
Oh.
One of the most documented, horrific events in history was dragged into court to be picked apart line by line, source by source.
It wasn't just Lipstadt on trial anymore. It felt like history itself was.
And that's the cue for Richard J. Evans, the author of the book we're discussing, Lying About Hitler. He gets pulled into this.
Right.
I mean, can you imagine getting that call? Being asked to basically fact-check an entire career's worth of writing on such a loaded subject. What exactly was his role? Well, Evans, already a very prominent historian in his own right, was asked to be the lead expert witness for Lipstadt's defense team.
The lead witness.
Yeah. And his task was enormous. Not just reading a few books, but a really forensic, deep investigation of Irving's entire output. Decades of work.
Everything. Speeches, articles, books.
Pretty much everything. Footnotes, translations, interpretations. The core question was, is this guy a legitimate, maybe controversial, but still legitimate historian? Or is he deliberately twisting facts for an ideological agenda?
A huge burden of proof.
Immense.
Yeah.
Evans knew the stakes. The outcome could genuinely influence how people understood and confronted Holocaust denial moving forward. Here's a massive responsibility.
Just colossal. And his book, Lying About Hitler, it really does pull back the curtain on how meticulous that process was.
It does.
He makes it clear this wasn't just, skimming. He went deep, almost like a historical detective. What did that actually involve day to day?
Well, it involved him and his research assistants, digging into archives, checking every footnote, going back to the original German documents, diaries, government papers, everything Irving cited.
So not just trusting the citations.
Absolutely not. Comparing Irving's version against the actual source material. And what they found was, well, shocking, though maybe not entirely surprising to some.
Which was?
That it wasn't just occasional errors or, sloppy scholarship, as Irving sometimes claimed. It was a consistent pattern. Systematic, deliberate manipulation of the evidence.
Systematic manipulation. That
Yeah.
sounds, chillingly precise. Can you give us some examples? What kind of distortions did Evans actually uncover in those sources?
Sure. Evans details several techniques Irving used repeatedly. For instance, misquoting documents, sometimes just leaving out a crucial phrase or sentence that changed the entire meaning.
The selective quote.
Exactly. Or deliberately mistranslating German passages.
Yeah.
He twists the nuance just enough to fit his narrative, probably knowing most readers wouldn't check the original German.
Banking on people not double-checking.
Right. And maybe the most damaging technique was strategic omission.
Yeah.
Just leaving out inconvenient facts, entire documents sometimes, that flatly contradicted his arguments.
So it wasn't just being selective with what he included. He was actively hiding contradictory evidence. That's a different level entirely.
It absolutely is. Take his arguments about Hitler and the Holocaust. Irving pushed this idea that Hitler didn't know about the mass killings, that it was rogue subordinates.
The Fuhrer didn't know lying.
Precisely. Evans showed how Irving would find maybe an ambiguous quote here, a partial document there, to support this, but he would systematically ignore or dismiss overwhelming evidence showing Hitler's direct knowledge, approval, and his driving role in the final solution.
Things like internal memos, speeches, testimony.
All of it. Clear, documented evidence. It wasn't about what Irving said so much as what he deliberately didn't say. Evans's conclusion was stark. This wasn't error. It was intentional distortion to push an anti-Semitic agenda.
Wow. Okay, so Evans does all this painstaking work in the archives. Then comes the moment he has to present it in court. That's a huge shift, isn't it? From quiet research to the public glare of a trial.
A massive shift. Evans writes about it vividly. Suddenly, you're not debating in an academic journal. You're on the witness stand. Days on end.
Under oath.
Under oath, presenting incredibly detailed, technical, historical analysis to a judge, lawyers, the press, the public gallery, everyone watching. Every word matters.
And Irving was there, representing himself.
Yes, Irving represented himself.
Yeah.
Cross-examining Evans directly, trying to undermine his research, his credibility.
Not him.
Evans described the intense pressure.
I can only imagine.
He had to not just present the evidence, but defend it. Clearly, calmly, persuasively, making sure the sheer weight of the documented facts was undeniable so that the distortions couldn't possibly hold up.
And after all that preparation, all that courtroom tension, the trial eventually concluded. What was the final verdict?
The trial ran for months, a real marathon, and the judgment was incredibly decisive.
In favor of Lipstadt.
Yes, overwhelmingly. The judge ruled squarely in favor of Deborah Lipstadt. And the judge's statement itself was powerful.
What did it say?
It declared explicitly that David Irving was a Holocaust denier, that he had deliberately misrepresented history for his own ideological reasons. And it went further, identifying him as an anti-Semite and a racist.
So a complete vindication for Lipstadt and Evans's work.
Absolutely. But it was bigger than that. It set a really important precedent. It showed that historical truth, when properly researched and defended, can prevail against malicious attacks in a court of law. It wasn't just about protecting one person's reputation.
It protected history itself.
Exactly. That's the phrase Evans uses, and it feels spot on. It protected history from deliberate, hateful revisionism.
It protected history itself. That's such a powerful idea. And it shows that lying about Hitler, the book, it's about more than just this one trial, isn't it? Evans uses it to talk about something bigger.
Definitely. He really reflects on the role of the historian in society.
Right. He suggests they're not just writing down what happened. They're like guardians of memory.
That's his argument, guardians of memory.
Yeah.
And that comes with huge responsibilities.
Like what does that mean in practice?
It means a constant, rigorous commitment to evidence, testing sources, challenging distortions, defending the historical record against manipulation, whether it's for political reasons, ideology, or just plain hatred.
They're the fact checkers of the past, in a way.
In a crucial way, yes. They remind us that facts aren't just opinions. They're the foundation for understanding where we came from, which is essential for figuring out where we're going. They guard against forgetting, or worse, deliberate misremembering.
Which brings us right up to today, doesn't it? Because we live in a world absolutely flooded with misinformation, conspiracy theories.
Distorted narratives everywhere you look.
So how do we protect truth now? What can Evans' experience teach us about the kind of denial we see today, maybe on different topics?
I think Evans provides a really crucial insight here. Denial is almost never innocent. It usually serves an agenda.
It's not just an honest mistake.
Rarely. It's often political, ideological, or rooted in prejudice. And he warns very clearly about what happens if this stuff goes unchallenged.
Which is?
It can actually change how whole societies remember their past, or how they choose to forget it. And that directly impacts future actions, future policies. It can lead to repeating the same terrible mistakes.
You see echoes of that in debates today about science, about current events.
Absolutely. The playbook of distortion, of selective evidence, of attacking the messenger, it's remarkably consistent across different subjects.
It really is. And one of the biggest takeaways for me from lying about Hitler is something seemingly small but profound. Facts matter.
Yes.
Like really matter. Footnotes matter. Details matter. We think of footnotes as, dry academic stuff.
Right. Easy to ignore.
But Evans shows how one carefully checked footnote could expose a huge lie in that courtroom. It's about the power of detailed, verifiable truth.
And the demonstration that truth can hold up under intense pressure, under attack.
But only if people are willing to do the hard work. The meticulous, sometimes tedious work of defending it.
Precisely. And that's not just a lesson for academics, is it?
Not at all. It's for all of us. especially now when fake news and just sheer nonsense can spread so incredibly fast online.
Like wildfire, as they say.
Hmm.
The book also really shines a light on courage.
Yes, definitely. The courage of Deborah Lipstadt. She could have settled, right? Avoided the stress, the costs.
Easily. It would have been the easier path in many ways. But she stood her ground. For historical truth, for her own integrity, it took real guts.
And Richard Evans, too. He could have stayed in his academic lane, published his research in
A
journals.
much less confrontational path.
Yeah, but he stepped into that courtroom, put his reputation, his work, everything under intense scrutiny in a very public adversarial setting.
It shows that defending truth sometimes requires more than just scholarship. It requires bravery.
Standing up even when it's difficult. It's not just about being right. It's about being willing to fight for what's right, with integrity. So why should you, listening now, pick up lying about Hitler or think about its lessons? Because it's so much more than just history. It's this gripping story about integrity, about responsibility, about this ongoing fight against lies and distortion that shapes our world.
It reminds us why remembering events like the Holocaust accurately is so vital, not just to honor victims, but to prevent future horrors.
Absolutely. And maybe the final thought to leave you with is this. In our world, where information and truth are constantly contested, what's your role? How do you discern what's real?
Mhm.
And maybe more pointedly, what narrative, historical, or even everyday ones are you letting slide? In your conversations, your communities, maybe even in your own head.
It's a crucial question because the book really drives home that truth isn't passive. It doesn't just exist, it needs defending, sometimes fiercely, like in a courtroom, but always, always with integrity. Keep questioning, keep checking, keep engaging critically with the history and the news around you. That's how we all play a part.